Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Eric Hadik, CEO and President of InsideTrackTrading.com. Welcome back to the show, Eric.
Oh, thanks for having me back, Jim.
Eric, is it hard to track what's going on in the equity markets right now?
Well, there's really just a lot of sideways action, and, if you look back since the early June lows, it has been kind of a contracting trading range where, we get a decent rally, then a little bit lesser pullback, then a little bit lesser rally. And so really you've just, other than that, the good sell-off that we saw in August, it's really gone nowhere. And that's been the expectation for this year all along, and I think it will even carry into next year. I think the ranges will probably expand as we get more into the political season and the election cycle, and never knowing what to expect coming out of the administration here in America, and how that affects the markets. In the past, we've seen markets heading one way, looking pretty convincingly, then all of a sudden a tweet about tariffs or about good news with the trade war coming out and just reverses everything on a dime, and then it flows that opposing way for a couple days, and then a new declaration comes out. And so I think you're going to see a lot of that continuing through the end of the year. And it's more a case of just trying to trade within those ranges and catch the 1 to 2 week and 2 to 4 week trends.
So when you're in a situation like that, what's your best advice for your clients?
Well, like I said, I think it is accepting what the overall situation is, and unless you're just, buying and holding for a couple of years in something, then you need to be pretty nimble, not get very married to positions, and look for those signs, even when, maybe you've expected the market to go X% or X size move, and it's only done 90% of that, but starts to show some warning signs or signs of a fading trend. Accept it and go with it, because these markets never do exactly what you want, and when you're in this type of trading range, they are that much more vulnerable to kind of impulsive moves and unforeseen fundamentals popping up, even though they're fundamentals that might only impact the market for a couple of days.
Mm-hmm. Now, Eric, I know you're not the kind of person who makes your predictions or your projections based on the news. Is that what's happening to the markets right now, though? The slightest little rumor has a big impact.
Absolutely. But again, you look at the overall context. It's within the context of a broad trading range. And so within that context and within that trading range, then the market's just looking for what to spur its next 3 to 5 day move, sometimes even quicker than that. So the news, it's that much more vulnerable to the news when you're in congestion, when you're in in contrast to that, when you're in a solid trend, the reinforcing type of news will just kind of keep things going the way they're going. and the contrasting news will have a much lesser impact. You know, if you're in a convincing uptrend and you get some negative news, the market will react for a day or two, but then usually traders will say, well, it's bad news, but it's only a small percentage of the overall bullish factors that are driving the market higher. So right back into the uptrend. Whereas in a consolidation phase like this, the market does trade on a lot of those news items.
I've characterized what's happening right now as kind of a slow step-down correction where on one day the Dow might drop 500, 600 points, but then for the next few days it steps up again, but not quite as high as it was, and then we get another drop. Is this a pattern we're going to be seeing over the next while?
I think so, but I think that there is the potential for a little bit more of a trending move after we get through some critical cycles I'm watching in mid-November. I think if the market can continue what you were just describing and this back and forth, up and down movement, and try to set another intermediate peak just before mid-November, then it'll be in the time frame, and if price action comes close to what I expect, then it should also be in the type of wave structure and price trend structure to where we could see a little bit more of a sell-off, maybe something like we got in July and August, but then on a little bit bigger, higher magnitude than that, it's just reinforcing what you're talking about, that you have this kind of stealth correction where it's going in a stair-step fashion, and just when it looks like it's starting to go into an all-out decline, then it comes right back up and almost makes it back up to previous highs. And we've seen that before in many cases. And it's only after a prolonged period like that when the market finally kind of throws in the towel on a limited basis and sees more of a significant decline.
Is, as you said, stealth correction. Is this going to be a time when people look back a year from now and say, I should have got out of the market because I've lost 20, 40%?
I don't know yet if we're going to see that type of decline. My work's not currently projecting something like that, but there are a couple of key support levels and indicators that I continue to monitor that if they turned negative, then we'd be looking at something of greater magnitude to the downside. But right now, I think we're going to see more of this whipping back and forth for the next few months.
We'll have more with Eric Hadik right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Eric Hadik. Eric, is gold still going to be something that's climbing in value over this period?
Well, gold has really taken its cue throughout a lot of this year from the the stock market and from the kind of an anxious mindset. When there have been some things plaguing the market, that's when gold has seen its quick surges. And then when the market steadies is when gold kind of sets a top and consolidates near that high. You saw gold have the first phase of its up leg in late 2018 and then into late February of this year, at which point it peaked and held that peak for several months. And that was just the time when traders were kind of becoming convinced that stocks had bottomed and were embarking on an advance back towards their highs. So it took that safe haven or flight to quality premium out of gold. And gold kind of stayed that way and traded in a big sideways trading range into third quarter. And then you saw that 1 to 2 month sell-off in stocks where all of a sudden gold had another surge, took it to its next plateau. But those trending moves in gold are often short-lived. It's when you've seen some anxiety created by the equity markets. But each time it has propelled gold to a higher plateau. So that's very constructive for gold. It's very positive, and I think that, if the equity markets do what I'm even close to what I'm expecting and see some more struggles after mid-November, that's probably when you'll see gold get ready to shoot up to its next plateau.
What about other precious metals?
For the most part, like silver has certainly lagged until about July of this year. Then silver started to show some of its own momentum, and I think that we're seeing a little bit of life coming back into some of the commodity markets, grains, for instance. I think they're in the early phases of a 6 to 12 month bull market. And so if you get several factors starting to point to a little bit of price inflation, that tends to help something like silver more, since it doesn't get as much of the flight to quality premium, but it does get, when you see some of this price inflation creeping into the market, even if it's just on a limited basis, that's when silver tends to benefit more. And the other markets are, they're part of that. They trade in sync with the whole complex, and other times they're beating to the beat of their own drum. You look at copper that has struggled for a good part of this year, and it came into a point where we could see more sustained bottoms here, but it's going to take a while till that really comes back to life. But then in contrast, platinum really started to build some bottoming and uptrend momentum in July and August. Palladium was really leading a lot of that and has been for the last couple of years. So you have to treat each one on its own. But when you get those moves that are more convincing uptrends, then the rising tide lifts all those metals boats, at least for a limited period of time. It might only be a couple weeks, and then they resume whatever their prevailing trend was after that.
We'll have more with Eric Hadik right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Eric Hadik. Eric, what's your projection for crude?
Crude, I have been looking for it to work its way back down towards its more recent lows, down around $48 a barrel. And recent lows, I mean in the last 6 months. I think that it needs to have a retest of that support before it's able to undergo a more sustained advance. And I am looking at some timing indicators that are pointing to a similar time as stock index cycles, even though in this case it's looking like crude could set a low in that just before mid-November time frame. But if crude can retest that support around 48 and is in the pattern of setting a low leading into mid-November, I think that the overall structure will turn far more positive after that point.
Bloomberg is reporting that Ramco could roll out its IPO next week. What impact would that have on crude markets?
I'm not sure what that would really do. I think you could get a mixed response, and whatever it is would be fairly limited. So I don't have a strong conviction on that.
Bitcoin, again, people wondering what direction is it going to take from here?
Bitcoin has been really adhering to the intermediate cycles that I follow pretty closely, and the outlook since late June was to see a multi-month correction. Bitcoin had fulfilled most of my upside expectations for 2019 in that late June time frame, so I didn't expect to see much more beyond that. And that subsequent correction, what it was showing me was to look for an initial decline into late August, but the end of the correction is more likely to wait until late October, with an intervening low in late September. It's kind of swung on these 1 month and 2 month cycles, so it bottoms at similar times of the month, and it has really kind of held to that structure, and I've explained where the real critical support is for what I think will be one more sell-off here in the second half of October. In fact, I've done a series of Bitcoin reports over the last 9 months, and I'd be happy to send out some examples of that, some samples of that to any of your listeners if they want to contact us.
Eric, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me back, Jim.
My guest has been Eric Hadik, CEO and President of InsideTrackTrading.com. Inside spelled INSIIDE. Make it easier for you to find it if you do want to ask Eric any questions directly. If you have any questions for Eric or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@HowStreet.com. Find us on Twitter @HowStreet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.